Every veteran has a story. A story of sacrifice, courage, humor, and heartache. Each week, Veteran Story Hour captures these remarkable stories firsthand in the voices of those who've served. Recorded live from the weekly Friday brunch in the Saluda, Virginia studio in Waynesboro. This is more than a podcast. It's a living history, preserving the legacy of America's heroes. You're listening to Veteran Story Hour, Voices of Valor, presented by Saluda, Virginia. Let's begin. I'm honored to introduce today's guest, Mark Baldwin. Mark didn't enter the Marine Corps with stars in his eyes. He didn't graduate high school. He didn't come from privilege or predictability. What he had was something harder to measure. Grit, a survivor's instinct, and a willingness to step forward when the world gave him few other choices. Mark reflects on a 21-year military career that began with uncertainty and ended with purpose. He speaks plainly, powerfully, about what it means to grow up inside chaos, to find order in uniform, and to navigate fatherhood with a hope of giving his children a better map than the one he had. He served in Iraq. He gave blood for wounded Marines. He carried stories others couldn't or wouldn't tell. But more than anything, Mark Baldwin is a man who has spent his life wrestling with the weight of memory and the responsibility of legacy. This is not a sanitized account. It is honest. At times, it is raw. And it is precisely what Voices of Valor was created for. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Baldwin.
Yep, my name is Mark Lewis Baldwin. I was born in Lafayette, Louisiana. My family, my mom's side family had gotten there from Nova Scotia, middle 1700s probably. And then my parents met each other there in high school in Lafayette. My dad was a sort of rolling stone with his parents, moving all over the country, and then eventually settling in Lafayette, Louisiana as well. And then about fourth grade, my parents divorced. My dad moved back up to Charlotte with my grandmother. Three sisters stayed there in Louisiana. I moved back with my dad when they divorced. And then from that point forward, it was sort of, back and forth between the two. Dad makes me mad, mom makes me mad. Just life, I guess, right? When you're a young kid and you get options. But now, if you ask me, I would say Charlotte is home, right? I went through middle school, high school there.
Sure.
So I sort of, the foundation of friendship started there, and that's kind of where if I go back to home, it's to Charlotte, North Carolina.
Now, what gets you to Waynesboro?
Yeah, so when I got stationed in Quantico in 2022 at Headquarters Marine Corps, we knew for sure we weren't going to live in Northern Virginia. My wife had retired. Nothing against it, but you get trapped in the rat race of you got to have that next 200K job to keep up with that beautiful house you have.
For real.
There's not like small houses, that's another 400K. So as we were evaluating that, we had came through here camping on a camping trip one time, and had, essentially until I went to Hawaii, had not seen a more beautiful place in the country. So that was sort of in the back of our heads whenever we got stationed in Quantico. And so we just came back through here, looked at some houses, and found a house in Timberville.
Okay.
Old farmhouse they had redid, so it had some character to it. So we purchased the house, and then for the next 2 years, I essentially lived out of my truck in the parking lot of the Marsh Center at Headquarters Marine Corps, and then would, travel back and forth where the wife and kids were here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Where'd you guys go camping?
Everywhere. So we're kind of into and I hate to do the overlanding thing and
Sure.
plug overlanding, but for lack of better words, we got the truck camper stuff. So, everywhere. I think here the first time we came, I don't remember if it was the KOA up there by our house, or if it was the National Forest. Yeah, I don't remember. I just know driving through here, even when we came back to look at houses, you get on that interstate on 81 and you see the mountains and you're like, oh, this is it again. Like there it is. There's the hills with the cows and the mountain in the background. This is the place.
For me, it never gets old.
Ever. I agree.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I'm from Southern California.
Yeah.
And so I was born in the desert out there and then grew up in Orange County and Dana Point and Catalina Island was just, you know what I mean? We used to go there all the time. Like that was right. But it's a different type of gorgeous.
Yeah.
Right? It is still gorgeous, right? But here in the valley, the Shenandoah Valley has such a unique and character's probably the words. The Blue Ridge Mountains are some of the oldest mountain ranges in the world.
That's right.
So I swear it has to do with that. Like has to do with some of that energy that like just lives in this
area. I've told people, you know, when I did 23andMe years ago, when we got back our findings, I had 69% more Neanderthal DNA than everybody else tested on 23andMe. And at the time, I was like, boy, that's fucking odd. And I don't know why I love camping so much or why like the mountains just call me, the woods, the walking, the hiking, the just sleeping. Something magical inside me happens that I'm hopefully passing on to the kids. You know, they're in this great, they're 2 and 6 now. And they love the camping shit, and obviously some of that Neanderthal DNA has been transported over to them.
Hey, we need more of it.
But yeah, we do. It's a healthy thing for me. But certainly, I think the Shenandoah Valley, connects that, and maybe it's not genetic, right? Maybe I'm overshooting that idea, but it does something that I can't explain. That even just turning down a Forest Service road and having an opportunity to glimpse over some ridge and go like, 300 years ago. A wolf would have ate me here. Right. And I'm just casually strolling through here, enjoying it. It's crazy.
And where my family came from last was down in Florida. And you're going to appreciate quite a bit of this, I would imagine, with any type of background in Louisiana, where you can be out in nature, but you'll die.
Yeah.
Like in Florida, it is like there's plenty of things that want to eat you. Yeah. Like there's no swimming in a lake. No. There's this like we always joked around. It's like if somebody got eaten by an alligator, we knew what they were a tourist because it just was like you just knew. Yeah, no. There's snakes. There's alligators.
And there's like python contests now every year to catch the biggest python in the state of Florida. It's like, what in the fuck is going on?
Yeah, because you had a science facility that was doing testing on pythons that then got blown apart during a hurricane and releases pythons.
Not good. Or iguanas. You go to Miami and it's like,
and they're
crazy.
And they're completely like, falling out of the sky. So it's coming here and being able to be in nature. And really, outside of bears, like that's it. But at the same time, it's not like bears are supposed to be here. Like we're supposed to be afraid of the bears.
And we've had, I won't say encounters, right? But we've seen them quite a bit, even up in Maryland camping. Yeah. And there's still we have guns. Like I feel safe enough. I won't go touch them or play with them. But it's a different sort of, a different sort of feeling or fear, right? It is. You're right. There's something. Also, I think the swamp, the Louisiana shit sort of feels the same way. It doesn't have that same magical mystique. It's got like this sort of dirty, clammy feeling, that's fun to fish in. But I don't want to just enjoy it, No. The sight is different.
And mosquitoes. Like there's just so many things that are awful about that entire environment.
Growing up in Louisiana, we joke about this at home all the time, but I don't even get bit by mosquitoes. Like I think the Louisiana time in me, it's literally put something in my body, and I'm not making this up. I would grow up, and we would have huge welts, in Louisiana. Yeah, massive. Absolutely. Never happens anymore. It's like it gave me some special gift now. So thank you, Louisiana.
The gift that keeps on giving.
Shout out.
You've got how much fun is it having? You've made carbon copies of yourself that you get to expose to the stuff that you like, and they just kind of like it.
Yeah, man. Is there a better thing in life?
There isn't.
Yeah, being in the military and maybe the Marine Corps in particular, where we really value leadership and this ability to mentor young folks. And I think the other side of that coin, at least for me and probably every Marine officer that I know personally, it's been this same sort of reality that a lot of Marines enlisted join generally for the same reasons, like shitty household. And I had a pretty shitty upbringing. That I think, now as a 40-year-old man, I kind of look back on, and I'm very thankful probably, for lack of better words, for that upbringing and made me a survivor. And that's like 98% of our enlisted force, right? Probably across all services, but certainly in the Marine, because I can speak to that. And so getting an opportunity to talk that shitty upbringings, and then young enlisted people have a lot of kids, right? It's like it almost feels like the military sort of supports it because then they know you got you, right? If I can convince you or not convince you to not get married or have kids, By the time you come to 4 years, you're like, bam, you got a wife and kid. You sure you want to get out, Smith? Like, think about it. And I would tell those Marines the same shit. Like, hey, life isn't going to get any easier. It's going to get way fucking harder. Mm-hmm. But man, like, imagine, like, what do you want to do in life, right? And that 20-year-old is like, I would love to be a surgeon one day. And it's kind of comical. Like, you're never going to be a surgeon. But your kid, right?
Right.
Like, you start talking about medical stuff to that 2-year-old, or just introducing him to books, right, that just talk about being a doctor or a veterinarian. You can like plant little seeds that can grow into anything, right? Like everybody starts somewheres. And I think it starts very early on. And for me now, even better for me personally, I have 2 older kids. I have he turns 18 next month, actually, from previous marriage, and a 15-year-old. And Emma's a little different. Emma's got some learning disabilities. But I got to experience being a divorced dad and figuring that stuff out for a long time.
Sure.
11 years before my wife and I got married and then had our kids now. So not only do I get to share all of this cool shit and hopefully plant a bunch of those seeds in my new kids, but I also got like a one-up on her because I got to experience all that shit early on and kind of got the ability, I think, to sort of learn and do all the dry run shit and all the shit I fucked up on.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, to like go, yeah, our kids don't need whoopings. We don't whoop our kids. That's never been like a thing in my second household, where the first household, you just do what your parents did, and you're assuming I did. I mean, they must have did it for a reason, because here I am sort of successful. It worked out. It wasn't ideal as a kid getting whooped, but like I guess it's helpful. Then I became older and had 2 younger kids, and I was like, yeah, that shit is fucking dumb. Surely there's a better way, you know?
And it's one of those things, the one thing I ever tell like a new dad, like, you're going to get a lot of advice, including this advice I'm about to give you. Well, first thing I'll tell you is tell everybody to get fucked with whatever advice they give you. Yeah. Like whatever advice they're going to give you, it worked for their kids, but it didn't work for their second kid or their third or their fourth.
Right.
So they don't know what they're talking about, but they're going to tell you.
Yeah.
I said the second thing is that you're going to feel like it's going to be 2 a.m. You haven't slept in days, potentially weeks. And there's going to be a window. You're going to be holding this baby. And you're like, this baby could go out that window. And I could go back to bed. I wouldn't have to worry about it. I said, that thought is totally normal. Mm-hmm. Just don't do it.
Right.
As long as you don't do it,
right.
You're totally fine. But know that feeling is totally okay.
Yeah.
And the third one is that if anybody gave you a parenting book, if they were being honest, it would be blank.
Yeah.
Because you're writing that shit in real time.
Yeah.
And it kind of leads me to the next thought, hearing you talk about it, because it's very simpatico with my experience, which is no matter what our upbringings were, once we get the opportunity to now be the parent, it's either do I zig or do I zag? Mm-hmm. I have this fork in the road. I know how my people did it to me. I know how I handled that. Do I want to do that again? Or am I going to do the opposite of that? Am I going to do a different version of that to see what happens? And it's again, it's one of those things, like you said, if these seeds weren't planted for you, and you're like, but I could plant these seeds. And for me, it always was like, at whatever ages we are, right? I had my first son when I was 22. And I want to make sure that this 2-day-old gets the 22-year head start that I've got. I want to give him the 22-year head start so he has what I have now. They didn't need him 22 years to figure out what I know now.
Right.
And then it struck a chord for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always the opposite side of that equation, right? Because the kid gets a voice, unfortunately, right? And
Yep.
And we sort of, and maybe in the 1950s, it was probably easier to silence that voice. I don't think you do that now in 2025. Mm-hmm. But I think ultimately, I think being a parent, what it's done for me, I watched it in my wife, you know, as she was a Marine as well, retired a couple years ago. And, you know, the Marine Corps, God, I hate to keep harping back to this, but from the last 21 years, right, it's been my adult life. So it's easy for me to to grab the nuggets of information there. But, you know, we have a great organization that will reward hard workers that put service above self. And that's fantastic when we're at war. You want that. It's certainly not ideal for a family, right? And so the Marine Corps, including myself, I sacrificed a lot for it, including relationships with family and even my children at times, knowing that it would benefit me. And I think for me, at least, the outcome at the very end of that would be far more important than what I was giving up early on.
Sure.
The fruits of your labor aren't seen immediately, right? So for my young kids, like, why can't you be there? And it's like, well, I will be there. You know, when I retire, son, I'll have the paychecks will be really good. I'll get to work when I want to work, and we'll have the rest of our lives if we're alive. Amazing. But for my wife, she was single, no children, didn't want kids, and I mean, week on week, she would talk to me at home, right in the confines of her house, husband and wife. I have this Marine who's pregnant. Oh fuck, she's always got shit to do, and I would tell her all the time, you know, like, that's a fucking human who's got a human growing in her. That's some like really crazy shit that like you just don't understand. But, you know, I've always said like the greatest commanders that I've had, the greatest people that I know in my life are people that are hugely empathetic. And I don't think you learn to be empathetic. I think it's something that you either have or you don't. And the only way you get that is through hardship. Like, if you told me your mom died of cancer, I would feel sorry for you, but I couldn't actually feel that. Right. There's no way for me to truly understand, you know, what you're trying to convey to me. And in having kids is that same sort of dilemma where for me, it's easy for me when I had Marines who were pregnant, for me to give them the time, for me to give them the ability to go be a parent, because I was a parent and I fucking understood the complexity of that, the challenge associated with that. And the reality that at some point, this thing that we have, the Marine Corps, goes away and all you have left are the people at your fucking house. And they don't give a shit if you're an E6 or an E1 or you got court-martialed. It's irrelevant to them.
Yeah.
And ego gets a say there too, right? But ultimately, those people at your house fucking care. And then my wife got pregnant with our first kid, Olivia. And I remember the day after she was born, we had some complications at birth. She got sent to the NICU. I go back I leave with Olivia. I come back. I see Diane. She's kind of awake again. And the first thing she said, even before she asked how Olivia was, she was like, I get it, you know? And it was so, I wish I had recorded it. We've talked about it a lot. It's really, really powerful, I think, for a number of reasons. I could probably fucking cry because it's so powerful to me now. But I think it's that type of thing that, and not just a service member, but just a parent at large, you know, being able to see that for the first time of like, in her case, damn, I kind of fucked over Marines, right? Like I didn't care. But I think it's that empathy piece that until it's you, until it does impact you, right? Well, the same thing when I watch these murder shows and you hear this thing, I didn't think it would happen to us. Like you see about murders on TV. It never happens on my street, you know, and you're like, fuck, that really hits home, I think. And I think it's a powerful message just in general for anybody, even though I don't think you can gain empathy without going through something. I think there's like a piece of it there. There's like a morsel you can attach yourself to, where when I hear if you told me your mom had cancer, like I could still feel it. It just wouldn't be the same connection, I think.
And you said that hardship, right?
Yeah.
That kind of gives birth to empathy. And I think that's a really, really great way of framing it because it's exactly right. It's one of those things where I can pretend. But a lot of times if you pretend empathy, people feel it. It feels disingenuous.
Yes.
I can do the best that I can, but it's like, I can't connect. Yeah. And that's why a lot of times I remember those some phrases that have been shared with me over the years where it's like, don't tell them you don't know how they feel. But you don't have to say that.
Right.
A lot of times just being there.
Yeah.
Just have whatever the conversation is. You don't need to dig them in. They don't need to know that you understand. They don't need to know you feel it because you don't.
Yes.
And that's where, I think it's what you call out is really great. Record those conversations with your wife.
Yeah, you know what we did a thing, man. When my grandpa passed away, World War II Korean War vet, phenomenal dude, super racist for as long as I can remember, and then at some point later in age, I'm married to a black woman. My dad married a black woman after he got out of prison. Something changed with him, and we found a connection. And it's not that it was ever lost. I could call him, we could talk about the weather, but there's not much else him and I could talk about, right?
Right.
But when he passed away, I had just gotten a GoPro, and I had a pretty shitty childhood. Moving around, we went to 13 schools over my time that normally kids from kindergarten to 12th grade normally have a couple of schools.
Right.
We moved a fucking ton, lived in campers. I became homeless. My dad went to prison in 11th grade, and then I was bouncing around with friends. I didn't graduate high school. I didn't got my GED in the Marine Corps as a corporal. And so, and I said it early on when we first started talking, you know, all of that made me a survivor, and it's been very special. And I'm thankful for it. I couldn't even imagine my life any differently. Like there's not a situation that the world could put me in that I wouldn't figure out a way out. I've tried to even think of it myself, to be honest with you. It doesn't exist.
Right.
Like my will is far stronger than anything that I've ever experienced. And so at his funeral, I have this GoPro, we're camping, and my dad's there, and it's, I think for me, it was probably just lethargic to go, Dad, you want to chit chat, man? Like, there's some shit I'd like to ask you, like, what the fuck were you thinking, And we sat there for like an hour and a half, and I kept it for a long time. And then at some point, my GoPro got lost. I never took the SD card out, that sort of shit. But what really struck, and I still remember it now, was even post that, it wasn't emotional for me at all. I was really interested in his answers.
Right.
As a father, now, like, I'm an adult. You can tell me whatever the fuck it is. I understand alcoholism. I understand substance abuse. I understand the need to just get more money for no fucking reason. We didn't need it, right? We needed love. But what I really found was sort of how easy it is for someone else to sort of show you the other side of the coin without you seeing it.
Yeah.
In my kid brain, right, if you asked me my childhood, I would tell you about the cops coming to our house 1,000 times a year, us getting Christmas presents from cops, and I thought my whole life it was because the cops really cared about us, and it turns out they fucking felt sorry for us.
Yeah, you
right?
were on the list.
Right, and it was, but you're oblivious to it as a kid, right? What you're seeing is all of the heightened sense of awareness during the bad times, or those things always stick out. If you ask me my greatest points of my career in the military, I would tell you all of the most shittiest parts. Because looking back, those are the ones that stick, right? Nobody remembers the fucking great times. It's like, yeah. I mean, you'll remember it for a while, right? And there's a couple of cool points in there, but the shitty times are the best times because that suffrage like forces you. It puts some kind of code in that file that's like, don't forget that shit.
Oh yeah.
Because that's going to be important later on. Remember how terrible that was. And so when I did it with my dad, I did it to my mom too, but both of them had completely different sides of that story. I couldn't figure out which one was telling the truth, or like everybody else in life, right? You sort of, and I think for my dad, probably even more so, I'm sure he thought a lot about it over his life. And we have a great relationship now, so this isn't something I'd be afraid for him to listen to. But I think more than anyone, I think he wanted to still come out ahead in that exchange, which was a challenge. I can also, as a man now, understand it, right? Talking to my son, I've made mistakes. And I've happily told Axel at this point in my life, like, hey, that was fucked, man. And you know what? Hopefully when you have a kid, right? And to your example, when you're 22 and you're going through it, don't do what 22-year-old Mark did to you. There's a better way,
Right.
Yeah, that was just dumb, dude. We didn't need to do that.
Yeah, and you hit on a point, which is my wife and I, we started doing it. We haven't done it in, man, maybe 6 or 7 months. But we started recording every Sunday. We'd sit down and we'd just be like, what the fuck's going on? What are we dealing with right now?
Yeah.
We talk about business stuff, family stuff. Mother gets cancer, right? Now we're going to cancer appointments. So guess what? That's the topic of what we're talking about. And we posted it.
Yeah.
You just drive her crazy because you're like, why are people listening to this? I'm like, I don't know, but they are.
Yeah.
They are listening. And it's because we fundamentally are interested in each other's stories.
Yeah.
And no one is fucking genuine about anything. Everybody puts on a face.
Yeah, I mean, the white underbelly, right? I mean, the first episode I ever seen of that, like, fucking trapped me. And I've never in my life just imagined myself watching 3 hours of a prostitute from L.A. And then you watch it and go, I understand it.
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
And
shit happens, and, like, here you are. And maybe it's curiosity, but I think more than anything, it's just that human experience.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, yeah. You just want to hear it.
And for me, I keep telling her, I'm like, this isn't even, I said, the fact that we're posting is just so I have a place for it to be. I'm like, but this is for our kids.
Yeah.
Because for me, exactly what you said, I remember when I really started to become aware of anything, my dad was 36. Like, I remember. And so even to this day, how old's my dad? He's 36. Because that was the first time I really remembered, like, this is how old my dad is.
Yeah.
Well, I'm 36. I would have loved to be able to go back and hear what it was like when you had two boys that were 10 and 12 years old.
What a job.
What were you thinking? What were you thinking when mom did this? Why in the flying fuck didn't you step in? Why didn't you do all these things? But you'd get to hear it in real time.
Yeah.
And that's what I told her. I'm like, this is just the 21st century's version of journaling.
It is.
Like, journals are so important, but now we get the ability to hear the actual voices. You hear the inflection. You hear the emotion. Like, those things are so important. And again, for me, the same as you, it's like I still hear my dad's guarded, but I want to get a feel like it, to be able to hear it in real time. You're willing to sit down. So that would be my only push, man. Is if you have that itch with your wife now and you got these 2 little babies now, it's like, man, talk it through, like get it recorded. Again, doesn't have to go anywhere. But now you have this treasure trove that your kids are not going to give a shit about, but your grandkids will.
Yeah, I post-divorce, starting in 2011, I would drive back and forth to Charlotte from Camp Lejeune every other weekend to see the kids. And I probably have, no joke, 150 videos of just, 5-minute things in the fucking car. Here's what I'm thinking about shit. That it's probably like listening to my voice now, right? It's really weird to watch now. And I'm kind of like, fuck, I probably had better advice now, right? Like, but I know at some point, I think it'll be special for them. Like it's special for me now when I talked to my grandpa before he passed away, or even when I talked to my dad that day right after his funeral. It meant far more to me than it did to him, for sure, right? I think
for sure
the reality is he could give a fuck less,
Yep.
He's yeah, he could give a fuck less, and not because he's upset about it, but I just think it's like, it's another day. But for me, I think it is important, right? Because I do get to, if nothing else, even if it doesn't influence my actions, it does allow me just an opportunity to, when that thing comes up for me to my son, that's in the back of my head still, right? Like, what would dad do? And it allows me, even if it's just a brief pause in my OODA loop, to go, let me fucking change that. Yeah. I get a chance right now,
without a doubt.
Yeah.
So you get this very clear push. So you're like, I don't graduate high school. You get the push, obviously, directly into the Marines.
Yeah, what had happened was a close friend of mine, Travis, he joined the Marine Corps in the pulley program, right? He depped in. And I think really what had happened, he just wanted some extra points, right? He can get promoted if he joins someone else. And Travis was a close friend. Maybe we smoked pot together occasionally, that sort of shit. But a great guy. I mean, just a phenomenally smart dude. A guy that I truly care about to this day. We still communicate. Great guy. So he comes to me at school one day, and I'm just doing what Mark does. Very little. I'm an intelligent guy. I was in honors classes, AP classes, but without having parents that give a fuck, it's sort of. I mean, I've talked a lot about this to other folks. That's why I think teaching is so important. Like I had some amazing teachers that I think saw the potential in me. So they would, a couple of folks, Preston Long was one of them, Mr. Wehunt, that even though I gave a fuck less, they could see like, you're a smart kid. Like I would just get shit. In fact, I think most of the reasons I was such a probably nightmare in fucking school is because I was tired for little Jimmy, who's got to go over the same thing 7 times. Like, fuck, dude, are you retarded? Like, let's, you know what I mean? I'm
for sure.
tired of reading this again, man. Let's fucking go.
Yeah.
And so Travis convinces me, do you want to dep in? And I was like, yeah, I'm fucking down. And then senior year came. The last 8 weeks, I got suspended for drawing something on a wall, stupid shit, but I couldn't go back. And so I needed to go to summer school to finish English 12. I had a great recruiter, Sergeant Hector Knott, who literally took me to not important. He got me into the Marine Corps, so it was good.
Yeah.
With the idea of graduation will be in a few months kind of thing. And then when I didn't graduate, I was like, well, that's fucking it. Sergeant Hector Knott, I guess, gets court-martialed for something, and we get a new recruiter, Gunny Labatt. And Gunny Labatt, he tries to come to the school 100 times. They want me to go to these functions, right, on the weekends, and I'm like, I'm trying to get fucking drunk and smoke some weed and hang out with the boys. I'm just living life, right, without a parent. It's
right. I
have no money, but I got great friends whose parents have money. It was pretty fucking magical, if I'm being honest with you. It was good. And so Gunny Labatt eventually comes to the house that I'm living at. I lived with my buddy Chris Nash and his dad. His dad had just gotten divorced and let me live there. I think he just let me live there by default. I was there for weeks, and then finally one day he's like, "Are you living here?" I was like, "Yeah." I sneak in at night when you're asleep, and then we wake up in the morning and I go outside and wait for Chris, kind of shit. So, but Gunny Labatt stopped by and was like, "Yeah, don't even worry about we're not worried about high school. It's 2003. Like, we need people in, and your ASVAB score was high enough, so you're good, and you can figure this out later," kind of shit. So, so to be honest, I didn't even talk to anybody else. There wasn't college wasn't an option for me. Right?
So how do you even get into the ASVAB for a guy who's just like, guys, I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do they even sucker you in to go sit down for this?
You know, if I'm being honest, I think it was more of like Sergeant Ectronaut at the time was willing to take me to lunch that day.
Ah, that's awesome.
And I was like, I'm fucking down if you just want to bring me to get some food. I mean, I remember telling him, like, I'm not doing it. It's like the used car salesman thing. Like, I don't want the fucking car. But, you know, if you're a good salesman, he was good. He was good. Years later, I was a chief officer too. He went to a Marine Corps League meeting that my mom is like a chaplain in. And anyway, she sent me a text. Said, hey, we have this new guy. He's like the youngest guy here. Anyway, it was Sergeant Ectronaut. Unfortunately, he got in court-martialed, and I was aware of it. So I fucking was like, hey, he shouldn't be there, FYI. But
by the way.
Yeah. But tell him thanks for getting me in. I'm still going strong. So I think it just came down to chow, man. I mean, I was kind of a drifter, and yeah, I was willing to take some free shit, you know?
Listen, there's been many times that people have suckered me into a meeting because they're like, we'll take you out to eat. Like, all right, fine. I'll listen to your bullshit.
You got it.
Whatever you want to sell.
And, you know, for what it's worth, it changed my life. It changed my generations of me, hopefully's life, right? Yeah. I don't know where that ended for me on the other side of that. Personally, I'm a worker. I'm a survivor. Like, I would have figured out life. It would have been a lot different than what it is right now. Where
I'd be willing to bet.
Yeah,
I'd be willing to bet.
For sure.
Yeah, the more creative you are off of the beaten path, the more dangerous it definitely can become.
Yeah.
So it's 2003.
Yeah.
This is, patriotism is at its highest.
Yeah, it was weird.
In the United States, for sure.
Yeah.
But the Marines bring you in. So you end up getting this other dude that pushes you in. Your ASVAB is high enough. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the higher we score on the ASVAB, the further away from Marine Corps we usually get?
I mean, I think that's probably, you know, like as an example, Travis, my friend, he's got a perfect score on his ASVAB. Super, super intelligent guy. Though Travis was the guy, he became a MARSOC operator. He just retired last year as well. He's a planner, right? Like he was the guy who would have been a MARSOC operator. It wouldn't have mattered what he scored or what he didn't. Like he's that kind of guy.
Right.
But I think generally speaking, yeah, most folks would probably say if you're intelligent, you're not going to the Marine Corps. Like we want the knuckle draggers for a reason, right? It's sort of, it gives us the bravado. I think it's also just, it's the image I think that we maintain. I mean, we do have guys that I think are probably just smart in different ways.
No, and definitely it's not a cut at all, because the one thing the Marine Corps is like, listen, you want motherfuckers to get shit done.
Yes.
You get a Marine.
You will get the Marine. And shit will get done. Yeah, that's a fact. Yeah.
So 2003, how is that process? Like, so you're now in.
Yeah, you know, just getting in was a fucking really... In fact, to this day, I haven't personally met someone who came into the Marine Corps without a high school diploma or GED. I'm not making that up. Like I'm an admin guy. I joined... they wanted me to go infantry, and Sergeant Ectronaut was pretty big on that, though. And I kept reminding him, like, nah, it's not my thing. You know what I mean? Like, I'll do guns and shit, but I'm not just trying to... They all get paid the same? And he's like, yeah. I was like, well, then why would I do that?
Why would I?
What are you talking about? Like, you don't get extra money?
Right.
No, I'm probably good. So I went in open contract, which is essentially like whatever the Marine Corps needs you to do. Right after boot camp, they essentially assign you whatever they want you to do. So I got maybe lucky and became an admin guy. So HR for the civilian layman.
Sure.
But even getting to boot camp, it was like here's the example. I arrived at Parris Island, South Carolina. The first, I don't know, hour you're there, you do like a moment of silence thing. I think they call it a moment. It might not be forgiveness. Ideally what happens is everybody who arrives on your bus goes into this room. They sit you down. They have folders with all your shit in it, everything the recruiter gave you to bring with you. They sit you down. You basically put your head on the desk and no one's looking, and they kind of give you this like, hey, if your recruiter told you you would get promoted, if your recruiter offered you drugs, if your recruiter did this, if you don't have a high school diploma, all this shit, right? They just lay out all this stuff that essentially would disqualify you for service.
Right.
Essentially trying to just weed out bad recruiters or people who are likely not going to make it. So, but my recruiter, Gunny Labatt, he had walked me through this, and he said, hey, when you arrive there, you're going to do this thing. They're going to tell you to stand up. Just don't stand up. Trust me. You just sit there and keep your head down. So I do exactly what he says. Beautiful, man. You want me to do that? I'll do that. So I put my head down. I don't say anything. They go through the whole thing, including if you don't have a high school diploma, stand up now. If you don't have a GED, stand up. And I just sat there. Everybody who stood up, you can hear them shuffling around, getting bitched at, right? It was the same, which reminded me like, thank God I didn't stand up. Beautiful, perfect timing. So they all leave. and there's, some silence. And then I'm a Baldwin's my last name. So B, I'm like the second or third guy who has to go up. And the sergeant was there going through all the paperwork. He's like, where's your high school diploma? And I was like, I didn't graduate high school. And he's like, okay, where's your GED? And I was like, oh, I don't have that. And he's like, God damn it, motherfucker. You fucking, like, day one, you already fucking have no integrity. I mean, I just get fucking demolished,
But you don't get sent home.
I don't get sent home. Yeah. I get shifted around. And now looking back 22 years, I'm very familiar with the Marine Corps ways now. And so the only thing I could say is, like, legally I could get in, though there's only like so many numbers of people who could fall into that category. I think it's called a category 4 or something, right? So it's like a numbers game. So it's really like they have to go do some work to figure out how many they've already accepted, congressional shit. And I'm sure what happened is they just didn't want to do all that work, and they were like, hey, he's already fucking here. He said he's good. The ASVAB score is good enough to be in that category 4. If he makes it, great. If he doesn't, who gives a shit? We've lost nothing here in this exchange.
Right.
So I finish boot camp, and then I get to the School of Infantry for Marine combat training. And the exact same thing happens again, where they go through this thing again. If this happened, if you don't have this. And again, shuffled around, 14 different people. You're going to have to leave service. You don't qualify. And then I graduate there. And they're like, congrats. Same thing at the next stop. It was like, goodness gracious.
So you're just a pain in everybody's
fucking ass. But I'm also a guy who's, I'll just get shit done. What do you want me to do? Yeah, I'll be the best fucking sweeper here, bro. Like, you just give me some time and you'll see it's worth it. And then when I go to re-enlist is kind of when it comes up. We were about ready to go to Iraq, and my re-enlistment was coming up, the time to re-enlist. And so I do the re-enlistment. We agree to re-enlist. I get approval. And then they can't report the approval because my high school diploma in the system, the Marine Corps Total Force system, shows a 0, right? So my career planner goes, it's probably just some kind of mistake. Just get a copy of it. And I was like, no, Gunny, I don't have it. So I go to, he's fucking stunned. I remember him being like, the fuck are you talking about, Mark? Or Baldwin? And I was like, I don't have it. He's like, how the fuck are you here? I have no idea, but I don't have it. So I had to go to Coastal Carolina Community College in Jacksonville.
Yep.
And I go there to figure out how I can get it. The lady explains a bunch of cool shit. If I come here 2 days a week, I can get my high school diploma. It takes 6 months. Or if I come back next Tuesday, I can get my GED the same day if I pass the test. So I do that. I fucking, she's like, and it means nothing. In 12 years, it doesn't matter if you have a high school diploma, GED. You don't even tell anybody. You'll be fine. But I show up to take the GED test, and I was literally among, for lack of better words, like this Jacksonville, North Carolina general public that was pretty shocking. And so I finished the test in 17 minutes flat, and then I had to wait 4 hours for everyone else to finish, and got it, and we're good. Re-enlisted and came over.
So HR, is that where you stay?
Yeah, I did. When I first got to the fleet, I showed up at Victor 18. Victor 18 was getting ready. In fact, their advon had already left. Victor 18 became super famous for the Battle of Fallujah. So I showed up to Victor 18, and the admin chief and adjutant were there. And they were basically like, hey, thanks for showing up here. Appreciate it. Our advon's already left, and like, we're not fucking bringing you. Like, we don't know you. I don't know fucking my ass from the hole in the ground anyway. Like, someone told me to come here, Gunny. I don't give a fuck what you do with me, but send me. So I left there, and I've looked back on that actually. Victor 18, my first unit, and they got fucking handled in Iraq. Like, it was pretty rough for them in Fallujah. Likely saved my life, and I think you'll probably hear this theme, or I'll say it a lot, like just luck. And I've sort of become more of a stoic over my life, and I think probably for shit like this, like some things you don't get to control, and I don't know if that's karma out there or just some goodness in the world for me. I'm not a religious guy. But maybe there was some special magic there, right? If I had joined the Marine Corps 4 months before, I'm probably in the Battle of Fallujah. And though I would love to beat my chest and talk about how brave I was, I also don't want to die or give up what I have right now, right, for that shit. So I get to 18, stay there for a couple days, and I get sent over to, at the time we had division personnel admin centers. So 2nd Marine Division, which I don't know, maybe 20,000 Marines have their own admin center where you would go to get shit done for HR. So I show up there to work there in their separations branch, which also becomes, really invigorating for lack of for lack of a better phrase there, because what I got when I arrived there was a brand new guy. I didn't even take boot camp leave, right? Those 10 days you would get or everybody gets. I didn't even want to do that because I was worried, like, I go back to where I came from. I don't know what happens in those 10 days. So I was like, fuck that. I'll go right to SOI. I don't give a shit. Like, fuck going back home.
Yeah.
Let me just keep this moving, you know? I wanted to leave for a reason. Now I'm fucking leaving. Cool. So I showed up to the DPAC. It was called the DPAC Division Personnel Admin Center as a private, which generally everybody arrives there as a PFC, right? At that point, you've made it through boot camp, SOI, MOS school. You generally have enough time in service to get promoted. I didn't. So everybody immediately had this, like, the fuck happened to you? And I was like, oh, no,
the story of your entire career. It was like, why the fuck are you
Yeah, 100%. And so I, was like, I don't know what happens if I go back home, and it's best that I just came here. So I just skipped leave. So here I am, But what that first experience gave me was I got to meet a whole bunch of OIF 1 vets. These guys coming back during the first initial push, or even the Battle of Fallujah guys when they came to separate, right? So I'm talking to these Marines every day, guys who are leaving the service, which generally become super candid people, right? And even colonels. Far later on, when I became an NCO there, I'm still working there. And I get the opportunity to work with retirees, right, and speak to some really amazing, I think, people who were just like war torn, right? And hearing those stories, and though again, I don't think I can gain empathy from it, I can certainly like learn from it and go, holy fuck, hearing the stories of just carnage is pretty powerful when you're a young Marine, and it sort of builds in this odd sense of patriotism that I don't even think I can explain, right? But it certainly does something like. And maybe it's the military service at large, right? If you tell me a guy's a Marine, there's this natural connection that you just have immediately, and you can do that with a number of ways. He's a Baptist. You're like, oh, I'm a Baptist. We must have this thing.
But there's a piece. So for all the guys that listen to all these stories that we'll share throughout this project that we're doing, I don't have a military background, but I played college football, and so that's as close as I can get. And as close as I'll ever get, because I'll never pretend. Even though when you're in these worlds, like we had Black Hawk Down, right? We had those dudes came and spoke to us, and you would use military lingo and trying to liken it to college, especially college football. It's very, very common, right? Yeah, battle buddy, foxhole mentality.
We're in the war,
all that stuff. And what was helpful is we had a ranger that was on our team that dropped into October of 01, dropped in with his crew, and he served 2 tours as a ranger. Came back, was a camera guy for the goddamn team, just filming practices. Just happened to be 6'5", completely just shredded, and was this animal. And the coaches are like, the fuck are you doing filming? Do you want to play football? And he's like, yeah, that sounds fun. And like, this is the dude that's like, all the punishment, all the bullshit, he's loving it. All about it. Loves when the coaches are just motherfucking him to death. He's like, we're doing the running. Because he's a lineman. Right. They've now made him bulk up to 290 pounds. Still is a goddamn animal. Runs all the times with the little guys. Just not even winded. Doing the stuff. And it was... his name was Derek Baldry, and his perspective was wild. We're just like, guys, this is all fun. Like, don't take it too seriously. Like, don't kill yourselves.
I've tried to articulate that message to so many normal people in life. It never fits in well, right? It's really hard to try to, and I think we talked about it earlier, right? But just, boy, the bad times in the Marine Corps are really shitty, right? But what it does give me is it gives me this could be so much worse, right? Like, you have no idea how much worse this could be. Again, the stoicism shit, there's always this recurring theme, I think, in people that become strong mentally, and it's having the ability to pull back from that bad shit and really think about, like, what else could be there? Like, what is the opposite of this? How much worse could this be? And that, how much worse is always there. It doesn't matter the situation. It doesn't matter how small it is to you right now or how large it is to you. It could still be worse,
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah, or better, right? But
Yep.
It's generally easier. The better shit becomes like, it's fine. It's thinking about the worst that I think drives anxiety. And I think military folks, even probably college athletes, right? Just someone that's got competition in them, I think will drive that ability in their head mentally to push beyond that limit, knowing that if I do, well, then maybe it does get better. Oh, it still hasn't? Fuck. Let me push harder. Let me just keep this going then.
And it is. And that's kind of where I was driving is twofold, where it was, I've had people be like, well, are you nervous about this? And I'm like, well, I had to snap the ball in front of 90,000 people with 10 million watching to win the game for the field goal, because I was a long snapper. So I would snap for field goals and stuff like that. And I'm like, and practice was more stressful because my coach was literally watching me between my legs and then was motherfucking my kicker. And if we screwed it up, the whole team was about to be punished and I would lose my starting spot. So I'm like, no, I'm not stressed.
Right.
Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I have to go talk right now. Like, I can talk. Like, that's no big deal. But the piece where you're like that connection of like, well, he could be a Baptist and we have that connection. That shared suffering cannot ever be understated. Yeah. Like the connection for you, for sure, because it is for me. If I know a guy that played, because I played at the University of Florida, and for me it is, if a guy that says he played D1 ball at that level, we immediately have a connection because I know the suffering he went through.
Yeah,
I know exactly to maintain what we maintained. I know what I had to go through. Tenfold, 100-fold.
Yeah.
For when you hear, oh, a Marine, oh, I know how many years, I know what you did, especially for you in the admin side. And this is the thing that keeps popping up for me as I'm hearing you tell, kind of just as you're having these hardened dudes come in, you're hearing their stories, this connection of like, oh, I know what it means. I'm not, while I wasn't in Fallujah, for you, from your perspective, it's, I've listened to a lot of dudes that have been.
Yeah.
And like that connection, and especially I would imagine from an admin perspective, it's like, dude, it is my duty to take care of these dudes, to make sure I'm getting them squared away.
Yeah, I think a lot of folks, I mean, even in the Marine Corps, right? Like, I think folks that, and generally it's like an immaturity thing right early on in folks' careers, right? Where they're like, fucking pogue, admin. I've never talked to a guy who's a hardened combat vet who would be like, fucking pogue, right? Like that sort of goes away after a combat experience, because you realize like, no, it's literally, the whole team is really important, believe it or not, right? Like you fuck some shit up, man, and people aren't getting paid on time, or a PCR is done incorrectly, personal casualty report's done incorrectly, and someone's family is getting told, hey, he only lost 2 legs, and it turns out he's fucking dead, right? I mean, we had a sergeant major who got shot. He was on a transition team, him and an Army major. He was a gunny at the time, great friend of mine. He got shot in the head and chest, and the Army guy also got shot. And, you know, families were told like they're both KIA, and it turns out like my buddy was still alive. Really shitty for the family. And it's like, it's those small things, and that's not every day, right? But the reality is that somebody has to do it. And I'm just glad the Marine Corps gave me a chance, you know, regardless of the ability to influence combat, or not. For me, it was like, I'm on this fucking team and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to help my boys, whether that's with the gun or without the gun. I'm fucking down to party. And it you know, it worked. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better way personally.
Sure.
Later on in my career, I did the recon indoc for reconnaissance. Travis was a recon Marine, and we stayed in contact, and he sort of convinced me, and I did the indoc. I passed the indoc. There was 114 of us that day. 12 of us got selected to move over to recon. And then I ultimately declined it. I was, my wife at the time had just gotten pregnant with my son Axel, and I was looking, you know, it's weird. Me and Travis never talked about this, but I've watched Travis's career, you know, and I really think highly of him for a number of reasons. But the one thing that I saw more than anything was, Travis, I think, had a good foundation. You know, his mother, was with him. His dad, I think, was passed away. I never met his dad, but he had a great mom, Wendy, still alive. Shout out Wendy. What I didn't have is a good family, unfortunately. And so even at that age, man, as much as I wanted to, I think, slide over and do the hardest thing the Marine Corps had to offer at the point, I think for me, once I got selected and had the opportunity to slide over there and do that, once the wife was pregnant, I was like, oh, fuck, you know, like at that point, Travis had been deployed, I don't know, 5 or 6 times, right? Tons of trainings. The shit doesn't end. And again, like I said earlier, like the Marine Corps loves the guys who are willing to give up everything for it.
Yeah.
So I declined it. And there was for a long part of my early career, right? Like that was like a bucket list thing that bothered me for a long time. Like it did. And then again, maturity and probably just the reality that like now me and Travis are both on the outside, right? Careers are done. And he's doing good. I got everything I wanted to get out of the Marine Corps and life really at this point. It worked out masterfully. And I mean, I couldn't be, I won't use the term proud, but I'm fucking very happy, you know, where it went.
Yeah, the phrase, again, for me, what I can connect to is like our head coach, he would say, he goes, we're going to get our pound of flesh from you.
Yeah.
I can guarantee it. We'll get ours. If you don't get yours while you're here and make the most of it and get and take from us as much as you can, then you're going to end up being a 40-year-old dude trying to pump your gas, and you're going to realize, what the fuck have I done with my life?
Yeah.
And he's like, and that's on you.
Yeah.
We'll give you everything. We'll give you all of the, and they did. And to their credit, they did. It wasn't just lip service. They gave us so many opportunities to take advantage, network, do the things that we needed to do. That was beyond just ball.
Right.
But it was like, we'll get ours.
Yeah.
Like, otherwise you'll be cast aside.
Yeah.
Like this was, the mentality was, it goes, I'll treat my starters, like I'll treat my ballers like gold, and I'll treat my shit like shit. So just realize none of you are equal.
Yeah.
It's what your output. Yeah. You know what I mean? And for me, it was
it's motivating
for a lot of people, but it was though, right?
Yeah.
And for the right guys,
right?
For some guys, it would be awful.
Yeah.
And sometimes I tell this story, and people are just like, "Well, that's awful." I'm like, "Are you fucking serious?" I said, "That's how it always is."
Yeah. I think that's life.
That's it.
Just no one says it.
But no one's willing to be fucking honest about it. And if I got and if I got somebody that's like, no, listen, if you're a producer, if you do things that make this team better and we need to rely on you, we'll treat you like fucking gold. But if you're not, then what the go fucking kill yourself.
Yeah,
like, why are you even here?
I think that similarity, I mean, that's, I think all military forces for sure. It's easy for me to harpen back to the Marine Corps Rex is what I know, but yeah 100%. The pound of flesh will always be taken.
Yeah.
And if you're not grabbing back, you're fucking missing the point entirely, right? It's hard early, you know, in a career, I think, at least in the military, I'm sure in college football, right? If you don't know the limits or the laterals and go like where does it end? Like where can I grab shit from?
Yeah.
But over time, right, you do pick that stuff up. And I think that's probably a valuable lesson in life that I probably haven't even broached it with my kids, right? Because it's the weird thing about kids is like, well, now it's love, right? So not only do I want you to be that guy who's hungry, competitive, like go in front of that fucking dude. I also don't want you to get hurt, kid. Like that guy might actually be better than you, you know? It's a weird,
My wife and I have been having these conversations. I go, do you think we love our kids too much? I'm like, because how many people do really amazing things in this life that just were showered with love? Like, do we need to be locking them in a closet?
Yeah, I
and
don't
like
think it
breaking
exists.
beer bottles on the ground?
I mean, maybe maybe you can name some. I don't know of anybody that I would say. You know, there's that thing that like only care about what someone thinks based on if you would take advice from them, right? Like, don't let someone else's just random advice bother you or critique. Like, fuck you, I don't even take advice from you. But I don't know of anybody personally that I would like look to for advice that didn't have a terrible fucking life. I think it does something that the human experience either needs or won't do for you, right? Like, you know, I'm sure have you read the book Tribe by Sebastian Junger?
Oh, absolutely.
Phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
And I think when I read that book, I think it's one of the greatest books ever written. For a number of and maybe it was the time that I read it, right? It's like a song. When you get that song, you can think back to a memory. Sebastian Junger in the book Tribe, when he's describing just the idea of struggle, and he uses the example that in the city of Chicago, there's murders every single day. The hardest place on earth, right?
Yeah, Chirac, right?
Chirac. Yeah. It's fucking tragic there. But there's no suicides. Like, well, that's weird. So the gangbangers are killing everybody. It's the worst place to live, but no one's willing to die themselves, right? Take themselves out. And then you go to like Manhattan, where like the average income per capita is fucking huge, the biggest in the country, but everybody's committing suicide. Well, that's weird. I mean, there's something to, I don't think everybody needs to be a drug dealer or a gang member in Chicago, but there's a sweet spot, I think, where you do need the hardness, right? And if we harpen this back to the Marine Corps, what I saw in those first 4 years for me personally in the Marine Corps was, I think why it happened so easy for me, at least the service part, right, of becoming the guy who I think people relied on was because I had a shitty life. So I was willing, like, what do you need done? You want somebody to sweep all this building 17 times because the general's coming? Yeah, they know Mark won't complain. Like, Mark will just fucking sweep. Mm-hmm. Because I've had terrible days where I don't even know where the fuck I'm going to live, and I'm 16 years old, you know? I got a nice barracks, man. I'm fucking down, dude. And then we're going to run in the morning, 12 miles? Yeah, I don't care. You can't, there's not a point in time you can tell me to run where, yeah, just know I'll finish. It'll be fine. But yeah, I think there's something to that Sebastian Junger really called out, obviously, with his statistics there on suicide, that I don't think most people want to, like, you know, accept, or like the reality of that. I think he gave there's a Bosnia example too in there where he talked about, you know, post the civil war in Bosnia, suicide just fucking skyrocketed. Mm-hmm. When during the war, like, nobody's committing suicide, and it's because they had these people around them, right? And we're all suffering together, and there's a magical thing with that self-suffering when you're doing it with other people. That is something that is unlike anything else. I mean, you might even enjoy this story. I'm sure you're aware of it. When what's the football player? God, he has got a cool name. They were having the whole hazing incident. I wish I knew his name. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. He's an offensive lineman with a fucking cool name. But he was hazing some guys, right? And I remember the news, ESPN at the time was, you know, it became a big thing, at least nationally, right? I remember watching it going, and they were sort of describing this thing, that how bad it was. Hazing should never be tolerated. And for me, I would agree with that. Hey, you don't need it. But there is some magic that comes from that suffering that isn't artificially made. Yep. That will last with people and stick around.
Incognito.
You know? Incognito.
Richie Incognito.
That's it. Old Richie.
Yep.
That was the one. Yeah. I even called into like a national program and was like, yeah, you probably need a haze, but there's probably some goodness there. Just, you know, again, I don't think it's needed, but I do think if we get some shared suffering, I mean, you saw it in 9/11, right? The day after. Yeah. Everybody felt it was different.
And the fact that you even have to try and like walk back, like you're trying to soften, right? That stance a little
probably.
bit, right? And I can hear it.
Yeah.
But it's the fact is that is the truth that people don't want to say out loud. Mm-hmm. And Joe Rogan has a great bit in one of his earlier stand-ups, which is, I think the real problem with our generation is that we have put paddings on the corners of tables, on coffee tables. Yeah. Because there's a lot of motherfuckers that should have hit their head and died when they were learning how to walk on the side of that table. Yeah. And he's just like, because it's a nerfed out generation. Yeah. It's like, no. Like, it's, while we may need not to go like full Sparta and cast babies out over a cliff. Yeah. But at the same time, there's a sweet spot. Yeah. And it's our drive for comfort. Is literally what leads to our demise ultimately. And it's that old, that very famous saying, right? Is that hard times make hard men, and right, and weak times make weak men. And it is those pieces where we're all feeling it because times are good. It doesn't matter how much we want to look at it. Now, times are getting a little bit more tumultuous, but the reality is that it's never been there's no point where we're like, I think the 1750s would have been a great time to be alive. Right, you're like, what are you talking about? Imagine. And it's like, no, 2025 is the time to be alive.
Yeah, man. I'm committing suicide probably up until like 1952. I'd probably let me fucking be done with this. I'm not doing this.
But to your point, it's no. You know how much suffering was going on back then?
Tons.
Nobody's killing themselves because you're dead by 38 anyway. Yeah. So the reality is like, no. It's just, I'm going to get after it until, I catch the cold, and that's it. Yeah. Now the lights are out. So it is, as you work through admin, and as you go through all these things over in Iraq, you don't make the choice to go and to be able to make that jump.
Yeah.
But you close out 21 years as you kind of think back, and you've referenced it a couple of times of being like, the real gnarly, awful shit really sticks with you. What is one of those things that constantly nags at the back of your head of being like, this is one, and maybe not so much the gnarliest, but it's like, what really is a milestone moment, like has made it to where it's like, this has firmly imprinted itself on my brain that has changed me of who I am or how I think about these things.
I think one of the probably most important, I was just telling this story literally like 3 days ago. There's a barbershop in Harrisonburg, Venus Barbershop. It's ran by 2 Iraqi nationals who were barbers in Iraq for the U.S. military.
Okay.
Who then were exchanged green cards, whatever they do, to come to America, post their service, right? They got done working there. We were wrapping up, so they got to come. Anyway, so I'm chatting with this guy. His name was Muhammad, so I just assumed, right? And I go, like, where are you from, man? We chit-chat about Iraq. Oh, cool. That's fun. We've been on the same roads. Awesome. And I told him the same story. I think one of the probably the most impactful for me, and this is me just being open and honest. It'll sound weird at first, but if you stay with me, we as we were gearing up to deploy, I leave the DPAC and I go over to 6th Marine Regiment, which has a storied career in war. I mean, 6th Marine Regiment has multiple Medal of Honor winners. John Bassalone from Banner Brothers was stationed at 6th Marines. We wear the French Fourragère when you're there. Just a really phenomenal unit that's world-renowned. So I arrived there, and it's an entirely different world than the DPAC, where you're with the service headquarters, right? At 6th Marine Regiment at that time, we had no females. I became a Perso later on, one of the S1 officers, way later in my career at 2nd Marine Regiment, still no females. But just the no female thing's probably sort of small now, right? But what happens if you don't have women around, all you have is this competitive fucking spirit. I mean, all you have is like alpha male dudes. So a lot of fighting, a lot of fucking drinking. And then you could sort of wrap all of that up with like, and you're preparing to go to war, you know? We arrived in Iraq in December 2006 to Fallujah. And the job there for our headquarters was all of Anbar, Iraq was on my CO, Colonel Simcock. He's a retired 3-star now. But Colonel Simcock he's got the look. If you just Google him, he fucking looks like a guy who will do some damage. Super intelligent guy. Sergeant Major Terry, Robert Terry, was a Force Reconnaissance Marine who was our senior enlisted guy. And so for weeks and months, I mean, all we talked about was, you know, our brothers and sisters, right? Or in this case, all of our brothers at 6th Marines, and like what we can do in this fight to protect Americans, to kill fucking Iraqis, bad guys, bad Iraqis.
Yeah.
And just like do our job that the country needs us to do. And then in that, because you got 1,000 alpha males, you know, fucking just eager to go shoot some guns, right? And like their turn, right? Like you want to be, I'm finishing up the Dan Carlin podcast on the samurais, but you know, he sort of has the Japanese had this same sort of thing where you have like all of these new guys who are like biting at the bit to go and like prove their worth.
Yeah.
Like their grandpas did in World War II. You're like, I'm fucking capable of that. And so you bundle all that up into like, you're ready to just go fucking lay waste, right? Whatever it takes. Which we did. We did a great job. We had some damage taking. And when I arrived there, we're taking over from 5th Marine Regiment, also a fucking storied regiment of national prominence for war. And their admin guys, unfortunately, like never got to leave the wire, which I arrived there on Advon and I was like, what the fuck, dude? You sat here for 13 months inside this fucking building, 12 hours a day, every single day. Fuck this, you know? So I talked to Sergeant Major Terry and he's like, fuck them. They're fucking dumb. Like they're so fucking stupid. Like Colonel Simcock was the guy and he was pretty adamant about it. I think their colonel at the time, 5th Marine Regiment, for what it's worth, Colonel Nicholson was his name. Very nice guy too. I think he was already selected for 1-star. I think there was probably a few months before that, they had some unfortunate events where a couple of convoys with females, they had this idea that if you take the most vulnerable females and you put them in one convoy, they might be safer. And then there was some IDs and like not ideal, right? And it was not good.
Yeah.
Not like it's exactly what you don't want to do in real life. They did it. So I think that probably led them deciding like if you're not a combat MOS, you're not fucking, we don't want a death that we have to report. And they go, what the fuck's your admin guy doing with a fucking scout sniper platoon? Luckily for me, that wasn't the case. So we got a ton of opportunity outside the wire. And so again, I'm young. I've been in the Marine Corps for 3 years at that point, and I get an opportunity to be a vehicle commander for detainee operations. So we would essentially all of our units would pick up bad guys, right? They go into like little small sort of prisons, either police stations, that sort of shit, all around Anbar province. Me and my guys and a staff sergeant who ran all of the convoys. We'd go pick them up and we'd bring them to Baghdad. And there was like a bunch of requirements in order for them to be taken into Baghdad. They had to have all these paperwork. We had time frames. If they didn't arrive to Baghdad within 7 days after capture, then we had to release them. Just a bunch of weird shit, right? And I'm only pointing out that weird shit because what ends up happening naturally in your head is, as you sort of start evaluating the situation and going, these are fucking bad guys. We're just going to release them? Like just yesterday, I'm fucking eating chow when over the loudspeaker, and this is pretty routine. I don't know if it'd probably make me fucking cry. I don't want to mess up the podcast here, but
it won't mess it up.
Yeah, one of the most powerful things, and this is sort of sidebar, but you'd be walking through the camp and you would hear something, or in my case, we had a chat that on the SIPR side, the secret side, so I could see a tick, so troops in contact. And that would pop up on my screen so I could essentially watch it and see what happens so I could start, prepping reports and that sort of shit. But then you would hear on the loudspeaker throughout camp, right? Like A positive blood needed immediately. And you would walk outside and you would see hundreds of people just running to the fucking surgical. And I would be waiting in line to give my great universal blood. Like while I'm standing in line, they're taking my blood and I'm watching them pull off Marines right out of this fucking truck. And they need my blood right now. And I mean, just imagine in Waynesboro, if you sent a text message like an Amber Alert and said, hey, we have a 39-year-old lady who needs blood right now, I bet you might get 3 people at the hospital. It's a really weird, but I think it goes back to that common struggle, this idea of like, we are different and we're here together. Fucking powerful. And so again, you bundle all that together and you start sort of questioning like, the fuck are we doing? Like, we're just letting them go? Like I gave blood to 2 dudes who were missing fucking legs yesterday. Like it could be fucking that guy. Like there's another Muhammad. It could be that fucking guy. And so we're doing, though, for what it's worth, the first couple of weeks, months, you do what you do. I'd put them in the truck. We'd play along. We'd get them there. And then slowly but surely, right, like after months and months of doing this, you do build this sort of real callous towards just the other. For sure. Like it's a really, I'm sure it's like that in football, right? Like you don't know the guy at Penn State, but he's lined up against you. You must fucking hurt him. You're like, that guy's just like you, just on the other side of the fucking ball. And so I think in time now, like at the time, what ends up happening for me personally is, you start cutting corners, you start changing SOPs, and nothing bad, but, you're fucking tired. And I need to tell everybody to put their head down. I don't speak Arabic. I remember Rajik Jha is like, put your head down, but maybe I don't say it every time. And you're watching guys hit their heads and shit like that. And that becomes the norm until you're reminded again, like, what the fuck are you doing? And then you get an opportunity to meet some really good Iraqis, right? Like people that are either with us, our interpreters, our translators, folks at the barbershop, folks at some of the fobs. And you quickly realize, these are like fucking people who are probably better than some Americans I know. Like I would have taken some of the Iraqis home over some of the Americans I worked side by side with that just understood democracy or the want for it.
Yeah.
And just the fire or the thrill of being better than what they are. And they just happen to be born in a different place. Like that's the sad reality. Yeah. This is why I'm so the immigration shit in America. It's like, yeah, we have some shit. Here's an idea. Just make it easier to become citizens. And they would probably fucking do it, because we were born here. We just got lucky. Like I won the fucking DNA draw.
Yeah, the lottery.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
So for me, I think and though it doesn't sound like a hard time, I think in the moment, it wasn't very challenging to sort of, to put my own, I don't even think I thought about it, right? You just execute the mission. But later in life, really probably post-war, when I got back and talking to people at bars or going to VFW, whatever the fuck, right? And you would hear the same shit, like all those fucking Iraqis. And I'd be like, hey, chill. Like, you have no fucking idea, man. Like, those are some really good people. And then it might have been like a year and a half ago, Dakota Meyer came on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah.
And he talked about, one of his translators, they're over this mountain, they're overlooking a valley. And his translator says something like, I can't wait for you to bring your kids back here to visit me. And Dakota's like, I didn't have the heart to tell him. Like, it will never happen, right? It's that sort of thing that, like, there's some fucking amazing people everywhere, right? I mean, everywhere as I've been, I met some fucking phenomenal. It's like that for everybody. It's just, it's this human thing. I think it's probably just another cap or feather in the cap for me of, like, just, again, reminding me, right, myself, that everybody's just got a story, right? And it goes back to those kids. Like, I'm at the Dollar General and there's a shitty person. They just had shitty fucking parents probably, or their mom died, and I'm just not aware of it. And so I shouldn't let it bother me, right? I need to like, and so I think that's just helped me mold this idea of like just being a better person, because that's the right thing to do all the time.
Yeah. And it's really, it's a psychological thing that you're talking about, obviously, of just like, I let myself get that far.
Yeah.
Like it's just the other end. And even as clean as you tell that story, I know how far my personality would have probably have let that go, and probably what became normal. But then you get back from that and you're like, oh, I got to grapple with some of these demons. Yeah. And really, I probably became one of the demons.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
you do.
It just is. And it is the nature of exactly what you're describing.
I mean, like day one, we arrive, and not at camp, right? But day one of me taking over we're doing changeover. So the guys who were doing the detainee ops, we go over there. I meet the guy that I'm taking over his vehicle, right? So I'm a corporal. He's a corporal. I have a lance corporal. He's got a lance corporal. And we're just kind of chit-chatting. He's sort of giving me the lowdown, right? And I'm watching. And like, I'm well aware of all the shit that happened in Abu Ghraib, right? Like that was like painted 1,000 times in training. Like, you don't fucking do this crazy shit. So we're watching it. And day one, there's a guy who comes out to get put in our trucks who doesn't have a leg, right? Old guy, probably in his fucking 70s. No leg. He's in crutches, not in the best shape. Like, there's nothing to be scared of this guy, right? But they rip his cane off. They take his cane. They shove him up on the truck. You know, we're probably, you know, if Marines are getting in a 7-ton, you might have 10 in there, right? We're dropping like 65 people off in this truck. Like, they're Indian style on top of each other for hours and hours. And you're just hoping we don't get an ID check, because they might be there for 8 hours. It's so long that, like, by the time we arrive wherever we're going to take them, sometimes they can't even stand up. Like, their legs have been locked. But they take this guy's crutch, and I'm watching him going like, hey, my Lance Corporal Frank is at the time, and he's like, hey, Corporal. And I was like, hey, shut the fuck up. Like, we're just here to watch. Like, that's what the boss told us to do. We're just watching. And I remember vividly going like, hey, what the fuck, man? And he, like, give him back his crutch. He's like, no, he might hit somebody. And I was like, dude, he's not fucking okay. Take his crutch. And then we get in the truck. We start our fucking departure, and he's like pretending to saw his head off with it. The guy's oblivious, right? He's blindfolded. He doesn't know, but surely he's aware there's something on his neck, you know, and it's like a fucking joke. And it bothered me, right? But then you slowly slip in and you become that demon. Like, I became the guy, and I wasn't doing crazy shit to these people, but I certainly cared less about them than what the Geneva Conventions would have told me I needed to, you know? I always got them to where they needed to go. I did everything that I needed to do. I don't think I ever crossed a line, but I think the reality is I could understand how you could cross the line. Like, it became clear to me that line is out there, and it's not very complicated to find it. Even if you don't want to find it, like, you just stumble upon that fucking line. And so, yeah, I think that experience though, and maybe it wasn't the shitty one, but it was certainly a way. I think it allowed a lot of shit to be built on it. Like, it started a foundation for me personally. Yeah. That forced me, I think, to care more about people, and not just because I have to or because someone told me to, but because, like, I need to, because that's what makes me feel good. You know, even shitty people, it's okay. Like, you're shitty, I'm still going to treat you really nice. You don't have to yell at me, but feel free if you want to. I'm still going to be really polite to you anyway. I'm also willing to fight you. I don't want to, but I fucking will. But I'm going to be really nice anyway, you know?
Yeah, and it's that humanity.
The humanity.
Yeah. And it gets lost. And then that's why there's no one that does war, that participates, and be like, that was the fucking best, man. Everything about this was great. Brought out the best in me. Right. Like, it's like I don't know. Like, it's that necessary evil. Yeah. But how we participate in that evil, that always seems to be those stories that come out. And it's like the reframe of, like, we can participate in evil situations, but man, how we navigate that's where, like, again, belief of a soul, not belief of a soul, belief of afterlife, religious or not. It's like, it's how you, like, you keep that soul that's in you that allows you that connection to humanity, or you lose it. Yeah. And then trying to find it back or get it back or fight to get it back. It's a whole nother level. Yeah. I would, 100% agree. It's complicated for sure. And, you know, obviously time, I think, helps understanding, right? Like, also 20-year-old Mark Baldwin is very clueless at the time of just shit, right? I mean, now I would look back and go like, what the fuck are we doing in Iraq? It was so obvious.
so obvious to probably everybody above me as well, right? But they're like following orders and they're doing the thing. And you know, keep in mind, like we are there to protect Americans, right? We're there to make sure that people of Iraq have a fucking way to travel to their market without getting blown up. Like we're doing good shit. But yeah, now I'd be like, fuck, all of that is fucking madness, craziness, you know? I mean, now, like if Axel wanted to join the Marine Corps, I would certainly not be again. I wouldn't say don't do it, but I would certainly say like, what about college? You know what I mean? Like, you know, I've done it, right? Like the family is good. Like our family name has been spoken for. You could be fine and no one would know the difference. And maybe your kid will pull up the mantle, and do the next thing. But I would certainly do my best to try to convince him otherwise. Yeah.
You and I are very simpatico on that because people are always like, oh, you play college football. You want your boys to play? I'm like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I absolutely do not want them to. For me, it served a very specific purpose for my personality, kept me out of jail, like gave me purpose, gave me a path to follow.
Yeah.
I want them to find, I need them to find another path. If that's the path that ends up emerging and it's got to be the path that they have to take, then okay, we'll have a different conversation. But if I can save their brain, if I can save their body,
yeah,
you know, I got 4 serious diagnosed concussions, well over 12, you know, I mean, like just, you know, and just as like ruptured discs, torn ligament, like multiple surgeries. Would I do it all over again?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm in the same boat. Yeah, I feel, for me, the Marine Corps gave me the opportunity that I was looking for, and I fucking loved it for it, so I kept doing it. You know, and sometimes later on in my career it becomes it was easy for me to tell other folks, right? When I had a fucking very good career, right? Like I was a combat meritorious promoted sergeant. I picked up staff sergeant very fast. I got selected to warrant officer right at 8 years, the youngest in my class for selection. And so I think folks generally would be like, fuck, you're motivated as fuck. And really it was like, no, this is like, I'm just playing the game and it's pretty clear on how you win this game, right? And so for me at least, mentally, it was easy for me to put out those fucking labels and go, I got to get there. Okay, I got you. Let me do that. Let me show this. Let me do that. Bam, bam, bam. So it was, just like football for you. I think it was just an easy way for me to excel in life with very little work. It was like, I'm naturally good at it. I can do this. This is easy rather than figuring out something else. But yeah, I think like you, I think if Axel's path that's the only way he would find some sort of relief, do your thing, man. I'll 100% support it. I fucking love America. We need people, right? At some point, if we don't have that, we're really fucked. So I'm on board. But as a dad, I'd be like, hey, you know, death is real too, right? Like people dying, that's a fucking real thing. And yeah, I would die for my Marines in a fucking second. But I don't know how much I would have died for an Iraqi, right? And that becomes the complicated part of war we're there for the Iraqis. They're fucking asking us to leave. It's like, what the fuck are we doing here? You know?
I would love to dig in to that topic, but on the next time we sit down.
Sure.
Because I think that's a good one to be able to needle at of perspective, looking at it with the perspective now. Because I think it's a great discussion of being like, they didn't want us there. Like we were there, but you don't want us to be there, but we're kind of confused. Like it's that perspective, I think, is one that I only hear from the guys that I'm closest with that served during the same time period that are just like, how do you feel about it now? And it's a very interesting conversation.
Yeah. I would agree too. I mean, I don't know personally of anybody that I've talked to who would feel any different too. I mean, it's a weird, maybe there's some politicians, right? But I guess I don't chat with them. And they generally don't serve. It's a weird conundrum we find ourselves in that I don't think is a new thing, but it's certainly something whenever you look at World War II and Ted Williams is flying fucking airplanes, one of the greatest baseball players ever.
Right.
I mean, could you imagine a day where Tim Tebow is serving, or I'm using that as a Florida guy, Percy Harvin. The fucking list can go on. LeBron James.
Those are two of my teammates.
Yeah. Okay. Fuck, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Aaron Hernandez certainly probably would have liked combat.
Also one of my teammates.
Right. So that would have been fun for him. But I think generally speaking, right, like I think that's where we have sort of fallen is it's generally, politicians sort of make the way, and the people, in the fringe world of America get to execute and likely die for their country while everybody goes forth. Have you ever read the Smedley Butler book called War is a Racket?
I have not.
It's fucking phenomenal, man. Smedley Butler is a Marine's Marine, like the guy, enlisted, becomes a 3-star general, tons of combat heroism medals. Post-service, though, he writes a book called War is a Racket, where he sort of just it's like 70 pages, super small. But he just sort of lays out this fact post his career where he's looking back and going like, what in the fuck have I done? And he's essentially laying out sort of the framework of the only reason we have war is to make the economy. Like, that's the reality. And that's what pushes it forward. And if you don't have it, economies suffer. And that's the sad truth. And you could fucking obviously look at that 1,000 different ways, but I think every statistical model would go back to the same thing. Like, war creates jobs push the economy, and that keeps people motivated. And almost a necessary evil, unfortunately. I don't think it has to be that way, but I think here we are, and that's become so much of the human experience for people on Earth. Like, war is just fucking what it is, and it's been this way forever. It's just in us. It's the other thing. It's all that we do. The tribalism, everything about that. It's the weirdest fucking thing.